G'day there guys, worried that my dead ancestors watch me while I'm pooping here. Back at it again with another episode of r/am I the a-hole. Now if you love this content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and enjoy the bloody good content. Posted by user Shelterproof, titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to lie to my mother's husband about how I met my husband? My mother and I have never gotten along. She's very serious, overachiever type A, and I've always clashed with people like that. She's also pretty self-righteous about things like pride and work ethic, and she just isn't my type of person. I feel bad because I'm her only child, and I really wish she had a daughter she could actually enjoy. My mum wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer, because that's what her friends' kids were doing, but I rebelled pretty hard against school. I left home the day I turned 18 and got by through modeling, working at clubs with a fake ID, and dating rich men. She always said I would understand her disappointment when I had daughters, but I have two, and I can't imagine being ashamed of something so petty. I met my husband when I was working as a yacht girl. That kind of just means I was paid by rich men to party on their boats and keep the guests entertained. I did date some of these men, and they were very generous. My mum views that as prostitution. I don't know if I agree, but I 100% think prostitution should be legalized, as I don't really care. I met my husband, and he scandalized his entire family by marrying one of those girls. And we've been pretty happy for 18 years. I do have an easy life, and I'm not gonna lie and say it has nothing to do with looks, but they were my looks to do whatever I want with. My mum doesn't like my husband. She thinks we both partied too much, and she was hoping I'd grow up and do something respectable one day. She hates that he enables me to have the life she didn't want me to have. Well, I met her new husband the other day, and he works in finance, is a nice enough guy, but very straight-laced. He asked how I met my husband, and I told him the true story. My mother was furious, and I did know she would want me to lie or leave some details out, but it's my story to tell, and I'm not ashamed of my life. My husband thinks I should have lied and said it was full-on prostitution, but he's kind of an ass. My mum actually cried after dinner. So, am I the a-hole? I'd say no. As you said, it's your story to tell in this one, and I think that your mum should respect that, but it doesn't sound like she ever is going to respect that. And it sounds like you know how to navigate these situations. Sure, it's a new person coming into her life, but that's no excuse for you to change who you are all of a sudden. So my recommendation is you keep being you, OP. I appreciate it, not everyone has to accept it, and that's just life. You're not the a-hole in this situation. In regards to the husband saying it should have been full-on prostitution, I like him, and you. Not the a-hole. Your mother sounds like a narcissist, and you didn't turn out to be the ornament that she wanted. Tough crap, continue to be happy. Thanks for helping me rethink this sentence. I thought the husband agreed that OP should have lied because they did meet via prostitution. OP, not the a-hole. There is absolutely nothing shameful about how you met. It's similar to a customer meeting a server at a bar. You guys have been together for 18 years. That's not an insignificant amount of time. Stay happy. She actually doesn't sound like a narcissist. Don't backseek diagnose. She sounds like an overbearing, uptight mother who cares way too much about what others think. Doesn't change the judgment, but narcissism is a lot more complicated than that. Yeah, so overbearing. Like, I want my daughter to get a job so she can be financially independent and take care of herself. Ugh, those parents are the worst, am I right? Not the a-hole. We've been very happy for 18 years. I think it's pretty clear that your relationship is more than just a bit of fun at a party, and your husband's response also suggests to me that you two have a strong relationship. Your mother sounds like she cares more about appearances than your happiness, but there's nothing to be ashamed of. You lived the way you were happy and found your husband along the way. She should be happy for you and proud of you. The mum's like, I don't like the way you live your life. Okay, keep looking, hubby, we gotta find who the hell asked. And it's more than looks. Even if we assume OP got married at 18, the youngest she could be right now is 36. Obviously that's not old, but if her husband was shallow and only valued her for looks and sex, he would leave her for a teenager or other younger women because how you looked 18 years ago is different from how you look now. And I'm assuming she had some bodily changes from pregnancy, and he's fine with that too, so clearly it's not the "I'm your trophy wife, give me money" sort of thing her mum thinks it is. I'm probably going to get downvoted for this, but I think everyone sucks here. Your mother is obviously way too judgmental, but I think you said that to provoke her and make things uncomfortable. I'm sure in front of new people you often say you met your husband at a party or that you were a hostess at the party, which is true. But if you chose to say you were paid to be hot on a yacht with rich men, and that's the end of the sentence, they didn't continue from there. This was my take too. I don't see why it's so hard to understand why a parent would want their child to be successful. Personally, I don't think being hot contributes as having achieved anything, but that's just my own personal take. The fact OP had to break down the intricacies of their meeting to us suggests that OP is also aware of why people would be judgmental, so it screams double standards. Doesn't agree with her mother judging her, but will actively make sure the internet doesn't judge her. Everyone sucks here. There's lots of votes after this of everyone sucks here and you're the a-hole, so I guess it really depends on how you view this situation. I don't blame anyone for disagreeing with me. Posted by user Drama Regarding Kids, titled, "Am I the a-hole for shutting down talk about having kids with purposefully controversial statements?" So, our region has done well handling COVID. So my husband and I had a small group of family over for a backyard barbecue a month ago. We're the only ones in the family left who don't have kids. We're not going to. We prefer our lives as mountaineers. His family thinks we'll change our minds. Mind you, husband had the snip. Mother-in-law jokingly mentioned that maybe with all the alone time, we'd be giving the family a little bundle of joy. We shut the idea down with good humor. She kept pressing, and sister-in-law chimed in with, "Come on, this is the perfect time to get started. We've talked about this already, let's drop it." "Well, I don't care." Again, drop it. "I just hope it happens." Thankfully, we're very careful. Accidents happen. It isn't always up to you. Well, yes it is. I had a vasectomy. Like I said, discussion over. Can we move on? We do, but mother-in-law and sister-in-law are whispering with each other and shooting glances, looking at their phones, etc. Brother-in-law and I are laughing about something dumb on TV. Seems like everything is fine. Until sister-in-law says, "Vasectomies can fail, you know. It's not a 100% thing." It gets quiet. Mother-in-law and sister-in-law look smug. So there's still a chance you can get pregnant. You can never be sure. Husband and I lock eyes. Party's over. And I say, that's exactly what abortions are for. Q, screaming and yelling, "I'm an evil, cruel tramp. What kind of monster," etc. His family are all supposedly pro-choice. Husband yells at them to get the hell out. "Don't talk to me like that." Mother-in-law gets up in his face and yells that I said I would kill her grandbabies. How could he stand to hear it? And I would hold her fudging hand the entire time because it's what both of us would want. Party's over. Q, Facebook crapstorm. Mother-in-law's post tags us, says, "We're having a nice family get-together, and OP and husband had bait us with purposely controversial statements. Every mum lives to see her babies have babies. Yesterday, I was told that my cruel daughter-in-law would murder my grandbabies if she got pregnant, and my son would hold her hand while she did it. I do not feel like we're a-holes, even for how we handled the situation. There was no getting through to them without being direct and final. This isn't the first time we tried to get them to drop the subject. However, other family members really think we're in the wrong and that I went over the line. Reddit, are we the a-holes here? In my opinion, absolutely not. They overstepped so many boundaries in this interaction, and they continually pushed those boundaries, knowingly. It's clear they were looking for a direct answer, and it's clear that they were expecting something controversial with so much pressure being put on you guys. They're just playing up for the sake of playing up because I suspect they've always known that the answer was going to be no. They just want a reason to be angry. It's like someone saying to you, "Come on, what are you going to do, punch me in the face? What are you going to do, stab me?" And then they get stabbed and they're like, "Oh, what? You stabbed me? Why?" That's my simplistic view of the situation, and that's the reason that OP is not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You both are probably going to have to block her and cut her out for a while. Life is too short for this kind of drama. Even if we lived up to 1,000 years old, life would be too short for this crap. I would genuinely say life is too long for that kind of drama, because it'll never be a one-time thing. That sort of meltdown will happen all the time. The idea of 1,000 years of that BS is exhausting. I genuinely like this way of looking at it. It's more terrifying when you imagine having to deal with it forever. I think bringing up abortion was the wrong route. Always go with, we aren't worried about kids, mother-in-law. You can't get pregnant from anal. Not the a-hole at all. They started it. I also would have asked them why they're so interested in your sex life, lol. Long term though, you may consider using the grey rock method with them, which might have more sustainable results. And what's that, you ask? Picture a grey rock. Unremarkable, forgettable, and similar to countless others scattered nearby. Even the most enthusiastic collector probably wouldn't have a lot to say about this rock. So, if you want to escape notice, becoming a grey rock might seem like a good way to go about it. Of course, people can't actually turn into rocks, but that's where the idea of grey rocking comes from. This strategy involves becoming the most boring and uninteresting person you can be when interacting with a manipulative person. Ideally, over time, they realize they won't get a reaction out of you, and they stop whatever offensive behavior they were doing. Good explanation? Not really feasible for family though, as it enables crappy behavior, and taking it until they stop isn't what I would suggest. Actually, it can be really effective with family, as usually they engage in bad behavior to get some sort of reaction from their victims. It's not taking it until they stop. It's more just not sharing with them any real info about your life to use against you, and not reacting to things they say to get a rise out of you. I've used grey rocking fairly often, and it's been pretty successful for me. Not the a-hole. Kids aren't for everyone, and I hate the culture of pushing people to have them. People don't realize that if those child-free people are forced to have children they don't want, terrible things happen. I'm not saying in every instance, but it does happen. Abuse, neglect, maybe not criminal neglect, but there is definitely the feeling of being unwanted. Imagine being the child who was born to people who never wanted kids. That's a tough life. Most people choose to have children, and it seems like mother-in-law has plenty of grandkids already. Are they not good enough for her? Yes, but apparently she deserves grandbabies from everyone with a uterus even slightly involved in her family. After all, she's entitled to a full collector's set, right? But on a more serious note, I was born to people who never wanted kids. Thankfully, I was adopted by an amazing couple who did, but not all such stories turn out to be as happy as mine. Posted by user Falling Again, titled, Am I the a-hole for coming out as a lesbian immediately after publicly separating from my husband? My ex and I didn't have a great relationship, and I was also questioning my sexuality for about a year before I decided to end it for other reasons. Edits, he was petty, childish, inconsiderate of my feelings, and decided if he had a bad day, I had to have a bad day too. Shortly after we told our families and friends we were calling it quits. I also came to the conclusion that I'm a lesbian, and I publicly came out for the end of Pride Month. My ex is really upset about this and thinks I should have waited a while, because now people will think he turned me into a lesbian. Apparently his friends have been making fun of him for it. Am I the a-hole? I don't follow the logic of how you can be an a-hole for coming out as lesbian, or being turned into lesbian for someone. Where does the blame lie on someone? Do people not understand things in this universe? Like, exactly how can you be an a-hole for turning someone into a lesbian, even if that was true? That doesn't make any sense. And because of that stupid flaw in logic, Opie is not the a-hole to me. It doesn't make any sense. Not the a-hole. You get to decide when you come out, and turning someone into a lesbian is ridiculous. That said, while it's nobody's business, people do talk. Coming out immediately post-divorce is going to cause a lot of assumptions about your marriage and why it ended. This is what I came here to say, but I'd go with no a-holes here instead. Your ex's friends are giving him a hard time, and he's hurt right now, so it makes it worse. It sounds like his friends are the a-holes, not OP, and maybe not the ex. I don't know, I'm on the fence about him still trying to control his ex's behavior when they've formally severed ties. Maybe her ex should rethink his alleged friendships with toxic people who make fun of someone who is still emotionally raw from a divorce. I think he's just hurt because of the breakup and his friends are fudging with him because that's what a lot of guys do, whether you agree with it or not. I don't think it's out of line to convey what he's feeling. Dude is just in a bad place right now. And as stated, the timing she used makes people make assumptions. It may not be right, but that's just how it is. OP doesn't deserve to be blamed for something a lot of guys do. The ex should convey what he's feeling to the people making him feel that way, not the person who didn't do anything except come out. That is why the dude above him said no a-holes here. No, the person you're replying to is saying not the a-hole because the ex is taking it out on the person coming out instead of the people being dicks to him. Not the a-hole. And if men could turn women into lesbians, there would be way more lesbians in the world. And the other way round. With that logic, all those middle-aged men in the trope of, oh, my ball and chain wife is such a nag, she actually wants me to talk to her but she's so dense, ah ha ha, book good, iPhone bad, would also be gay. I would definitely be gay, not because I don't like girls. It would just be awesome if me and my buddies could... Yeah, it would. Gay dude here. It does have that upside sometimes. It's way easier to have friends with benefits. But also, corresponding downside, sometimes the idiots think you're hitting on them when you're just being a friend. Alternatively, you can still screw dudes if you're straight. Kind of the reverse of what OP did. No a-holes here. You are of course free to live your life however. I struggled on no a-holes here because your ex could be somewhat of an idiot here based on the turned you into a lesbian crap. However, a divorce is a traumatic time, and he may feel some kind of way about having been with someone who wasn't sexually interested in him and taking flack from homophobic a-holes. You don't owe him a talk over a cup of coffee, but it couldn't hurt. He needs some direction, for example, to be told his friends are fudging idiots and not very good friends. Posted by user ThrowRA_Uterus897, titled, Am I the a-hole for having uterus art on my wall? So I, female 34, was really good friends with a woman a long time ago. Female 22, she died of cancer that age. She and I were soulmates, and she would embroider and sell it to people. Since we were basically sisters, she made some for me free. She made 3, which I kept to honor her memory. A flower, an Elvis one, and one of a uterus. The uterus one is bigger than the other 2, so I hang it by my bed. Recently, a male to female 31 high school friend of mine got kicked out by her boyfriend. I was okay with her staying until the storm was over. It went fine first. She cleaned up after herself, cooked for herself, didn't demand too much, etc. But some drama happened recently. We were in my room and talking about stuff. She noticed the bigger uterus one and said it gave her dysphoria and wanted me to take it down. I asked why, and she said because she feels less like a woman and because she doesn't have one. I said I feel bad for her, but I'm a woman with a uterus who feels proud of it and it's my room. She got mad at me and went out of the room. Am I the a-hole? I'd have to say no in this situation. And I can see where they're coming from with the body dysphoria, but that doesn't mean people have to take down things when you request it. People have the right to say no to requests like that, and this uterus was very symbolic and was gifted to her by a friend who's died. I would be pretty offended if people asked me to take down something that my dead friend had given me. Like, those kinds of items hold so much meaning to a person and memories. If someone asks you, hey, the memory on your wall there offends me, can you please take it down? I'd have to politely say, no, I'm sorry, it holds too much value to me. I understand where you're coming from, but I just can't do it, unfortunately. She had every right to get mad and storm out of the room, that's fine, but OP shouldn't be guilted to take it down, so in that case, not the a-hole. Your house, your room, your art, your uterus, please don't feel bad, not the a-hole. Your art from a dear friend that passed away due to cancer. I would argue that your additional information is irrelevant, as this would be unacceptable behavior from the friend regardless. I would argue that it's not irrelevant. I'd say it adds even more reason not to take it down. Not the a-hole. Presumably your friend is going to have a go at anyone who's pregnant next, since she can't have a baby. Or maybe you could take her on a hospital visit to see patients with cervical cancer. That'll make her feel better. Right? The friend needs to start learning to accept themselves instead of controlling their environment. They're setting themselves up for failure because they'll never control everything external that can trigger them. She should know about cis women without uteruses, and that doesn't determine that they're not women. They are still very much women. I'm a cis woman, and I would yeet my uterus so far out of my body if I could. Estimates show about 10 to 15% of women by age 40 have no children. Half from not wanting them, half from not being able to have them. Babies do not define your womanhood. Friend needs to realize that everyone else's life is not all about their transition. They don't get to dictate the actions of others in order to validate themselves. Friend is free to find somewhere else to stay if they're uncomfortable about something that the OP is displaying in their private home. Yeah, I unfortunately had to stop hanging out with a trans friend because she just became so incredibly toxic to be around. She made everything about her transition and started telling me that I'm probably trans because I only wear jeans and hoodies. I'm a lesbian that dresses more like a dude. I'm not trans. I'm a completely straight woman who only wears boots, jeans, and t-shirts. Does that make me trans? Some of them would say yes. I've had some argue with me and tell me I must be trans because I'm tall. The logic there seems to be, I'm trans because I say so, and you're trans because I say so. It's maddeningly confusing. Posted by user Twisted Raccoon, titled, Am I the a-hole for leaving my aunt alone at the pool with her 3 kids? I honestly don't think I'm the a-hole here, but apparently I'm a horrible person. Sounds like a just no mother-in-law or an entitled person ahead. So, I, female 18, have an aunt who has 3 kids, male 2, female 4, and female 12. I don't see them very often or spend much time around them, but my family is doing a small 4th of July thing today, so we're all together at a local pool. Social distancing, masks unless in the water, etc. We're staying at my grandfather's house for a few days, and it's about a 30-minute drive from the pool. This morning when we came up, my grandfather and uncle, kid's father, went to play golf while my aunt took the kids to the pool. I drove myself to the pool in a different car, as the aunt and kids usually swim for 6+ hours straight, and I didn't want to stay at the pool for that long. I made it known before we left that I was taking my separate car. I swam with the kids for about 4 hours, but then decided that I was ready to head back to the house. I got up and left my aunt, and she freaked out. She'd told me that I was being impolite and rude by leaving, and that since she'd bought me lunch, I had to stay. She didn't buy it, it was put on my grandfather's account. She said that I was going to make the kids upset and that she didn't want to have to take care of them alone. I told her that I was sorry, but I had stuff that I wanted to do back at the house. She started yelling in the middle of this public pool about how I was ungrateful for not helping and for leaving the kids, how I don't deserve to be up at the house, how I'm being a horrible family member, and of course, now the young kids are crying because mummy is yelling at their cousin, and they don't know why. So I just turned around and left. My uncle and my grandfather were already at the house when I got back. My grandfather thinks I'm in the right. They're her kids, not yours. If she can't be alone with them, there's a problem. But my uncle and grandmother are extremely upset that I left her at the pool alone to deal with them. 2/3 of the kids are fantastic swimmers. The youngest is the only one that needs help and has to be watched a bunch. I honestly don't think I'm in the wrong, but my aunt isn't speaking to me. My uncle keeps making rude remarks, and my grandmother is passively aggressively saying things to the small children like, "Oh, I know, I'll take care of you. Opie isn't very nice, is she?" Am I the a-hole here? No, that woman can look after her own kids. It's okay to ask for extra help, and get that extra help for sure, but demanding that she stay there for 6+ hours straight is just inconsiderate. You shouldn't blow up at her when she wants to go spend her own time. She enjoyed some hours looking after the kids and hanging out with you guys, but it's so rude to just blow up at her and say that she's a piece of crap for leaving. They're your kids. You look after them. You signed up for it. She didn't. What's wrong with you and the family for enabling it? No, that's the wrong attitude to have. There seriously needs to be a sit down and be like, yo, let's figure this out. You guys are crazy, and here's why, and let's be normal here, shall we? OP is not the a-hole. If she can't handle 3 kids, she shouldn't have had 3 kids, and they're her responsibility. Plus, there are lifeguards. It's not like you have to watch them like a hawk. If you can't keep a general eye on your kids and collect them when it's time to go, you definitely have an issue. Lifeguards are 16-year-olds with minimal training. Source: I was one. Parents are expected to look after their kids. A lifeguard saving your kid is a last resort. This is a dangerous attitude to have. Really? We have trained ones over 25 here. So, I'm a lifeguard. The problem with the parents not being around isn't that the kid can drown. I can jump in for your kid. The problem is that if some rando takes your kid's hand and leaves with them, I don't know if that's their uncle, aunt, or grandparent. Additionally, if your kid falls and cracks their head open and a parent isn't around, I'm not looking for a parent. I'm straight up calling the cops and first aiding the kid. You need to be within arm's reach of your child. Additionally, if your kid goes under, you can pull them out much faster if you're right there. Okay, then the aunt should have taken them home instead of press ganging their cousin into free childcare. 4 hours is more than enough pull time, they'll live. This, or the uncle could have gone to help his wife with his own children instead of being such a chicken butt about the whole thing. Everyone mad at OP sucks for blaming her instead of asking the father to do his damn job. Edit: and the more I think about the manipulative grandmother using the kids to get her digs in, the angrier I'm getting. I don't often use the word trashy, but that's just trashy to me. Not the a-hole. You have to babysit her kids so her husband can golf? Nah. This. The next time uncle tries to say anything, remind him he made the kids with aunt. Not you, not the a-hole. I was trying to figure out, was that the kid's father? Why was he home and not heading to the pool to spend time with his family? P.S. I have 3 kids and have taken them to the pool a lot on my own. Fun if someone else is there, but I would never expect someone to have to help me. Posted by user Anonymous18365. Titled, Am I the a-hole for not wanting my parents to be a part of my daughter's life? When I was 18, my parents kicked me out of the house after I got my girlfriend pregnant. To them, it was shameful and they completely cut me out of their lives and my family's money. My girlfriend and I managed on our own after my son was born, but it was a struggle for years. We were living paycheck to paycheck and constantly stressed about money. My girlfriend's parents helped out when they could and were the best grandparents to our son. By some miracle, we managed to graduate from college, even with work and raising a child. Now we're both 32, been married 6 years, living in our own home with our 13-year-old son and our 4-month-old daughter. I haven't seen or spoken to anyone in my family except my cousins in years. 2 weeks ago, my mum sent me a friend request on Facebook and also messaged me. She sent this long message about how she's wanted to talk for a while now, and she apologized for the way they treated me. She and my dad were hoping we can make amends because they really want to meet my new daughter and get the chance to be grandparents. She didn't mention my son at all, ask how old he is, how he's doing, or express any interest whatsoever in also wanting to see him, not just my daughter. I messaged her back and vented about all the hardship and obstacles my girlfriend and I had to deal with to get where we are, and how hard it was that I didn't have my parents' emotional support through what was the most difficult time of my life. Sure, their money would have made things a hell of a lot easier, but I get that money shouldn't have been handed to us. But I feel the least they could have done was be there for me instead of erasing me from their lives. I said they don't get to walk back into our lives, and I don't want to hear from her again. I blocked her after that. A few days ago, one of my cousins mentioned my parents and said they're telling everyone I'm refusing to let them meet their granddaughter. My cousin knows about everything, but he thought it was still petty to be that way when they clearly regret what they did and want to be in my life now, and I can't allow a grudge to prevent them from being grandparents. My wife and I talked this over, and she feels the same way I do, but will support it if I want them around. It really feels like they only care now because we're older and the hard part is over. And honestly, my parents have always been extremely judgmental over everything. They're also very snobby, and I'm not 100% sure if that's what I want my kids growing up with. My cousin keeps saying I'm in the wrong here, and it's hurting my parents that they'll miss out on my daughter's first year of life by not being around. I'm just a little lost, and I don't know if I really am being the bad guy or not. Am I the a-hole? No, your parents suck, they deserve to be ignored, that's disgusting behavior on their part and I don't condone it. They want their cake and they want to eat it too without any of the repercussions of said cake. Screw them, keep ignoring them, they don't deserve any part in your family. I stand by that. Opie is not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. They made their feelings known 13 years ago. It's a total a-hole move to ask about one child and ignore the other. If you are so inclined, consider meeting with your parents in a public place, sans kids. If they're serious about reconnecting and making amends, they can just start with you and your wife. If that goes well, over time, consider allowing them limited access to kids. Make it perfectly clear that it's a package deal. Either they treat both kids the same or they see neither child. You're probably better off without them in your life. Correct answer right there. They have to demonstrate their worth as parents before they earn the privilege of being grandparents. This, grandparenting, is not a right, it is earned. And they made their decision on whether or not to be grandparents 13 years ago. The part that bothers me, how the cousins side with his parents. Somehow, people are just absolved of their sins because they're old and need help. I do not wish for anyone to suffer, but your choices reflect on you, and you should always be ready to face consequences later. And now that they want to reconnect, they throw Opie under the bus for their entire family because Opie wasn't jumping for joy at the first sign of attention? Really? One apology, in words, not actions, and it's all supposed to be fine, and Opie is somehow unreasonable. And then after their first crappy try fails, they immediately try to guilt trip Opie into submission. They're not sorry at all. They're embarrassed they don't have the perfect postcard family. By bad-mouthing Opie to the rest of the family, they have shown their true colors, in my honest opinion. Not the a-hole. Why now? Why only your daughter? I get that people can grow, but in that growth, are they planning to pretend your son is still a shameful secret? Family is more than blood. They are the people who stand by you, with you, and behind you in good and bad times. The fact that your mum immediately went with woe is me, I'm the victim, they won't let me, etc., etc. to everyone, says a lot to me. She isn't even planning to put in some work to try and heal the rift that she allowed to grow. In case it's unclear, I support your decision 100%. Alright, and I think that's where we're going to leave today's episode, guys. I really do hope you enjoyed the content today. If you guys loved watching it as much as I loved making it, I would love for you to subscribe to the channel already if you haven't. Tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below, maybe like the video, who knows. I'd also like to take this time to thank my awesome Patreon and channel members. Without you guys, I don't know what I'd do. I'd probably be homeless on the streets of Ireland, crying, Irish dancing all over town. It would just be a mess. But no, for real, you guys are up on the screen now. Thank each and every one of you guys. And if you personally want to join the club yourself, there are links down in the description below. There's also the join button next to the subscribe button. Small monthly fee, but hey, it goes a long way to help me create more awesome content. Well, with that said, guys, I hope you do have a lovely day, night, sleep, evening, day at work, day at school, whatever you're up to. I hope you keep awesome today. You're looking amazing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.